Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Nimrod Geva and I manage KWIZCom's product group. And today I'm going to speak about how to connect KWIZCom forms to external data sources. Now, just a small reminder about KWIZCom forms. This is not an overview about KWIZCom forms. So my assumption is that the people who attend this session do have some knowledge about KWIZCom forms. Just a really quick reminder, KWIZCom forms is our forms and mobile solution for SharePoint and SharePoint Online. And the main idea or the main concept of KWIZCom forms is that we do not introduce our own proprietary designer. What we do, we take the existing list forms and we enhance them. So this way we minimize deployment and learning curve. So this is KWIZCom forms. And today I'm going to speak about how to connect your forms to external data sources. Now, the way we do it is by using what we call external values. Now, what is an external value? KWIZCom Forms has this mechanism that allows you to send web requests to any web accessible source. So an external value is an encapsulation of a web request that can be submitted from your form to any web accessible source. And this web request can be sent with dynamic parameters, which I will explain shortly, and get a value. So you can understand that if this is just simply a web request, it can both retrieve and update data. We don't care. Now, what can you do with these external values? So an external value is, as I said, a web request. It can pass dynamic parameters. And what are dynamic parameters? For example, these are field values from your form. So you can, this external value can take the values of several field values, send them to an external source, and get the result from that external source. As I said, an external value can also update an external source. Another key feature is the ability to cache external values. Now imagine you have a form with 10 fields where each field should get a default value from SQL Server, for example. So when you load the new item form, it will have to send 10 web requests, each request to some external system to load its field default value. Now, that might impact the form performance. So external value allow you to cache the result. So if you know that your external source does not change so rapidly, you might want to cache your external value for a few minutes, for an hour, or for half a day. So up until now, it's quite abstract, these external values. Where can I use these external values? So actually, and you will see shortly in a few minutes, you can use external values all over, in every KWIZCom Forms settings page. You can use them as field default values. You can use them to have like dynamic or live calculated fields in your edit or a new item form. You can use them to do some field validation or field constraints. You can even use them in custom actions. Custom actions are part of KWIZCom Forms Enterprise Edition, which allow you to create custom ribbon button to automate flows, kind of workflows, but just a lot simpler. So we have these external values that enable you to submit a request to any web accessible source. On top of this, we have some ready-to-use services. And these services allow you to quickly connect to SharePoint remote lists, to SQL Server or Oracle database, and also to Excel sheets that are located somewhere on any accessible web server. Now, up until now, it's quite abstract. What I'm going to do now is start showing you some stuff. And first, I'm going to give you a quick tour from the non-technical user perspective. So let's say I'm a user who uses KWIZCom Forms to create my fancy forms, and I need to use external values. I have no idea how they were created. I'm just going to use them, and this is the experience I'm going to show you now. Later, I'm going to go a bit deeper and show you how you create and manage these external values. So let's start. My first demo, by the way, this is the end of my slide, so now you'll see the real stuff. My first demo is how to use external values for field default values. And in this example, I'm going to use an external value that connects to SQL Server. And I have this order form, and I have this product drop down, and whenever I select a product, I would like to see the remaining inventory in this field, and the remaining inventory is located in a SQL Server database. So I want this remaining inventory to be refreshed every time I select a product with that product remaining inventory from SQL. So let's do it. I have this SharePoint 2013 lists. Let's look at the new item form for a minute. So this is quite a demo that I just show you. So here I have my products. I have 3 products, but nothing happens now because I didn't implement it. And I would like to see the inventory here, the remaining inventory. I also have my SQL Server database. Please, if someone can please write back to me in the chat box that you can see my screen all right and I'm not talking to myself. Do you see my screen all right? Great, thank you so much. Okay, so here I have my virtual machine and I have my SQL Server database. So I'm looking at the CRM database and I have this very small table called inventory, and it has these products that I just showed you in a dropdown. It's cascading lookup, quick preview, and repeating rows. And for each I have its remaining, its available inventory. The name of the field here is available QTY, available quantity, okay? So this is what I have. Okay, so let's start doing it. So in order to make the remaining inventory field look up the database here, I need to go to KWIZCom Form settings, and I'm going to dynamic default values. Now, this is called dynamic default values. This is a KWIZCom Form settings page because these default values are loaded not just when the form loads, they can be also reloaded when you do something in the form. So I want, let's open the form in parallel. So I'm opening it in another tab so you'll see what I'm doing here. Again, I'm opening the new item form. Okay, so I want this field, remaining inventory, to have the available quantity value of the selected product. So I need to set up a default value for it. So here is the field, remaining inventory. So I can configure a regular value, and for people who are already working with KWIZCom Forms, this is not new. You can set up any static default value, but this time I'm going to use external value, okay? This is the one. And once I click it, I have this picker. And when I click the picker, I get this pop-up that shows me all the available external values that I have that match my field type. Remember, I'm configuring now the remaining inventory field, and its type is number. So it shows me all the external values that return a number type. Now, remember I told you that an external value is a web request and all of that, but for me as a non-technical user, it looks like a function. So I'm not aware that behind the scenes it's a web request and blah, blah, blah. For the one who needs to use these external values, these are just functions. And for each such function, I see the name, I see the return type, and some description that the one who created this external value provides. And there are some out-of-the-box external value, like calculation services. You can see date, get day, date, get hour, and we also have some math calculation services. And we also have here some external value that was created not by me, by someone, that is called get product inventory. And I see that it gets a parameter named product, and it's surrounded by brackets. And it returns parameter product inventory from CRM, SQL Server, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's click it. I want to use this external value, but I see that I need to provide this parameter. And the parameter can be static, like I can replace the parameter with the value of 1 if I know that there's a product with the ID of equal to 1, but that's not what I want to do. I want this function, this external value, to get the value of the selected product. So I want to pass the product field. When you want to pass a field to an external value, you just need to use the field name with brackets. So all I need to do is write product surrounded by bracket. And if I have a mistake, like if there's no such field, when I click validate, I will get an alert saying there's no such field. Okay, so I click validate, and it was validated OK, so I can click OK. So up until now, I configured the remaining inventory field to have a default value equal to the external value that someone created called get product inventory. And again, as a user, I have no idea how it was created. I know from the description that it gets the inventory from SQL Server, but that's it. Of course, I will show you in a bit how I created it. Now, second thing I want to do here is not just have a default value. I want this default value to be reloaded every time I select a different product. So here under reload value, I will check the reload value when user changes other fields values. And this means that if I have a default value that depends on other fields, when I change these other fields, this default value will be reloaded. And I will check the last checkbox that will make my field look like a read-only field, because I want it to look like a calculated field. I don't want people to be able to change it. Its value comes from SQL Server. There's no point in allowing people in this case to try and change it. And finally, I click Add Default Value Rule. So here I have my new rule that says remaining inventory, its default value should be equal to get product inventory with parameter product field value. I'm clicking apply, and let's refresh this new item form. Okay, so first of all, you might notice that remaining inventory is now a read-only field. I cannot have the cursor here blink inside of it, so it's read-only. Now, if I select cascading lookup, one of the items here in the product field, I had a small refresh and I see the value 120. Let's select some other value and I see 255. These values are taken from here, okay, from SQL Server. So this is how easy it is to use an external value once someone else prepared it. For me as a user, it looks like a function that needs to get some parameters. That's it. Okay, let's continue to the next example. let's skip these slides because these slides just show exactly the flow that I just demonstrated. Of course, I will send you a recording of this session. My next demo is again about using external values, not about creating them. This time not as default values. This time I'm going to use external values in field constraints. And my scenario is again in this order form. This time I want to, once I select a product and I also type the quantity that I want to order from the product, I want to validate, once I click save, I want to validate that the ordered quantity does not exceed the remaining inventory. And this can also be applied even if I don't have this remaining inventory field. I just want this field to be compared with the inventory that I have in the SQL Server, and if it exceeds the available inventory, to get an validation error. So this time I want to use external values, but not as default values, but as part of form validation when I submit the form. So let's get back to this form. And here in KWIZCom form settings pages, I'm going to field level constraints. This is another part of KWIZCom forms. Okay, so let's create a new validation form. This time it's for the quantity field. Let me see it again. Yeah, I want to validate the quantity field. So let's select quantity. And I want to validate that the value of the quantity is less than. Again, I can enter a static value, but I want to compare it to an external value. And again, it's the same external value that I'm going to use. It's called get product inventory with the same parameter, product. And if the quantity is not less than get product inventory, I want to display the following error. Then available inventory. This is the error message that I want to display. And of course I can add, again, this is not new to users who use KWIZCom forms, I can validate this according to some conditions, but I'm not going to add any conditions here, so I'm just going to click add field level validation rule. I have here another rule, just disregard it. So this is my rule. Quantity field must be less than get product inventory of the selected product. This is an external value. And this is the error message that I would display if this validation rule fails. Okay, so let's click apply. And let's refresh this form. And let's enter some data here. So I'll take the second product. And let's try to order. I know that I have remaining inventory of 130. Let's try to order 150. And once I click save, you see here you cannot order more than available inventory. I also see the error here in the error validation panel because I configured tabs. When you have a multi-tab, currently I have only a single tab, but once you have a multi-tab form, you cannot know where you have your various validation errors. So we display in KWIZCom forms a summary of all your validation errors above the tabs, and also a tab that has a validation error, you can see an exclamation mark here next to it. Okay, so up until now, I just displayed two examples of using external values, showing you the experience of the users who need to use external values. Next thing I want to show you is another, I think, one of the most common scenarios that I've been talking about with customers. Again, it's another order form, but this time I have a product quantity and a unit price, and I need to calculate, to present a live calculation of the total price, which equals quantity times unit price. Let's have a look. So I'm going to another list that I prepared, and again, it's a very simple list. Let's create a new item. So here I have product again, and I have the price. Again, the price is taken using external value. This is not new, so there's nothing to talk about it. But next, what I want to do is when the user selects some quantity, I want here in the total field to show a live calculated value of price times quantity. Now, you might say, okay, what does this have to do with external value, web requests, and so on? This doesn't have to do directly, but what we did now is part of external values. I don't know if you noticed, out of the box we provide many external values that are simply calculation services. So, and one of them is math.multiply. So all I have to do here is configure a default value that equals these external values, and it will get two parameters, the price and the quantity value. Let's do it quickly. So again, I'm going to KWIZCom Forms. This time it's a different list. I'm going to dynamic default values settings page, and I'm going to configure a default value for the total field. And it's going to be an external value, and I'm going to use an out-of-the-box external value that we provide with the product. It's called math multiply. It's this one. It multiplies two or more numbers, sorry. And once I check it, I need to provide two parameters, num1 and num2. So in my case, I want to multiply the quantity field. I leave the brackets because these are names of fields that I want to be passed dynamically. I want to multiply it with the price field. Let's validate that I typed the correct fields. Yes, it's validated. OK, so I can click OK. So I have this external value. I want it to be reloaded automatically. But you know what? I also want to display a reload icon next to the field just to show you how it looks. And let's click Add Default Value and click Apply. Let's look how it works. Okay, so I'm back in the list, and let's create a new item. Let's refresh. Okay, clicking New Item. Okay, so let's select a product. I hope I don't have any connectivity issues. Let me refresh. Sorry for that. Yeah, it appears that the machine works a bit slowly now. Okay, so let's select the product. Okay, so I selected a product that its price is $700. Let's select a quantity, let's say 3, and now you see there's another refresh, and the total is 2100. And of course, if I change to some other quantity, it will be reloaded. I can also okay, I cannot change the price, but if I enabled changing the price, I could change the price and also use this icon to reload the value. So this was just an example again of using external value, but this time this external value was not an SQL Server external value, but a simple calculation service that is part of KWIZCom Forms. And again, the trick was to use dynamic default values to reload this field when you change other fields that this default value depends on. Okay, so this summarizes my examples for using external values. Let's go a bit deeper and look behind the scenes how external values actually work. Okay, so you know what? Let's leave the slides. Let me show you how it works. So I'm going to KWIZCom Forms settings page. And when you want to manage or create external values, you go here to Manage External Values. Now, all the external values are stored in a site collection repository, which is actually a hidden list. And here you see all the custom external values that I created. Now, every external value, you see it has its name, its return type, its description, and its URL. You remember, I told you every external value is actually a web request. You remember I had the get product inventory, which goes retrieves data from SQL Server. Let's look how it's structured. Okay, so I have my external value name and some description, which is for the people who are using my external value. And this is the heart of the external value. External value is actually a URL. You can use any custom URL if you have your own custom line of business systems. What we provide is some built-in services. And you see, you have, for example, get value from remote list by item ID, or get value from SQL database, get from Oracle database, or from Excel. You can also send a body request, a post request, post HTTP request, which means you can do a combination, send both a query string, a get request, and a post request, so you can send requests to simple URLs or to web services, whatever you want. And I don't have to remember this ugly URL. When I want to use any of the ready-to-use services, when I click the link, it populates the required URL here. What I do have to do when I use any of these services is just provide the needed parameters. For example, here there's a single parameter which is called connection name. And this is my connection name, the database name, as you saw here. It's called CRM. That's for SQL Server. Now, there's another parameter called command. And for this type of connection, SQL Server or Oracle Server, in command parameter, I have just to provide this SQL sentence, the select and the field name that I want to select. This is just a regular select query that selects the available quantity and passes the product parameter. Other things that you have to do to provide when you create an external value, if it requires authentication, you provide the username and password. You also need to provide what data type is returned by this external value. This will make this external value appear only for the matching field types. And finally, there's the cacheability. Here you can define if you want this external value to be cached. So imagine I have this example that I showed you where you load the available quantity. And if you have, say, 50 users loading this form at the same time, you might want to avoid issuing this web request 50 times at the same time. Assuming you know that this data is not changing too rapidly, you can cache it for 1 minute or for a whole day. It's up to you. So it really depends on the nature of your data. You need to know if you can cache it, or maybe you shouldn't, because it changes very rapidly. Okay, so let's show you a demo. Okay. The demo that I wanted to show you, I have actually several demos to show you here. Let me pick one of them. Yeah, let's show you first how to use a, you know what? Let's show you several. I didn't plan it, but okay. You remember the get product price? Let me show it again to you. It was in order test 2. I'll show it again. Okay, if you remember, I had here this demo where I selected the product, and then I had the price. This one is not from SQL Server. This one is taken from a products list. So how did I get the price of the selected product? Let's see how it's configured. So I had a default value for the price product. Here it is. And the default value is equal to an external value that I created. It's called get product price. Let's see how I created the get product price external value. So this is get product price. Okay, what I did, I used one of the services which is called get value from remote list item by specific value. Once you click it, you get this URL. Again, a very ugly URL. And you need to provide the following parameters. First of all, you need to provide the list name that you want to get the data from. And I have this data in a list called products. Now, it doesn't have to be on the same site. If it's on another site, you just have to change the URL. My current site is this URL /forms. And this list called product exists under lookup lists site. So this URL takes me to a list in another site. This is the list name. Next, I have to say which item I want to fetch, and this will be a parameter. And then which field I want to retrieve, this is the price field. So once I have this this external value in place, I can use it. And the way I use it, I call it get product price, and I passed it the parameter product, which is a field name. So this is how I use it. Now let's see another demo. Up until now I showed you existing services, but what about if I have my own system and I want to connect to it using whatever you have, ASP.NET, PHP, Java, whatever you prefer. So in my example, I have here another list. I want to get some data from SharePoint profile services. And this is my demo form. I have several tabs, but let's look only at this. So let's say I want to, I have my agent, and I can type what agent I want. And once I click load agent details, I'll get some details from the profile service, which might be synchronized with your Active Directory. So as you see, the fax field and the department field were both loaded with data of the selected agent. And this data, by the way, was retrieved from SharePoint Profile Services. Let's see how I configured it. So again, I'm going to KWIZCom Forms default values just to show you how I configured these two fields. So you see I have department and fax. Both use the same external value called getUserProfileProperty, and this external value gets two parameters. It gets the username, which is in the agent field name, and the first one gets the department field value from the profile service, and the other gets the fax value from the profile service. Now let's see how this getUserProfileProperty external value was implemented. So going back to the external value management page, and I have here getUserProfileProperty, sorry, this is the one. So let's click it to see the details. So this time, if you look at the URL, this one is just a URL to a ASPX page, and it passes it two parameters that will get the value of the fields, of course.